So today I'm going to be showing you my art supply setup, how I store things. I'm going to talk a little bit about where I got things, but mostly I just want to show you how I store things, my favourite kind of mediums and all that kind of stuff. So we might as well start off with all my drawers. The first thing I'm going to point out is these, and this is where I keep all my cards, loose paper, anything like that. Where I used to store them is on top of my cupboard. And I don't like that because what tended to happen is that they just didn't get used, and obviously I want to use this stuff. So I find that if I keep the bigger things out, I actually end up using them. So I just keep them slotted down the side, so kind of little canvases, like this one, which I still haven't opened. Boards, loose card, canvas sheets, all that kind of stuff. And then these drawers, I think I got them from Staples. I really love these. I was thinking, I had a plastic set of drawers years and years ago, but they're absolutely useless because they just ended up snapping, and you know the kind of rails that the plastic ones have here, they were constantly breaking and it drove me mad. So what I wanted to get is I wanted to get something which would last and was metal. I don't like the feel of plastic, I prefer something like metal or wood. And they weren't cheap. I think this one cost £40 and this one cost about 60, which isn't cheap, but these things will last me till the day I die pretty much. They're going to last forever, so long term they're a good investment because they work out cheaper. They hold everything. They're not exactly pretty, but I didn't want anything pretty, I wanted something practical, and they're really good. If you want something solid, I highly suggest you try something like this because I think you'll really like it. Before I go into what I've got inside this drawer, I'll show you what I've got on top. Here I've just got a few old canvas thingamabobbies. I've got some white acrylic gesso, and I get this from The Works. And if any of you are looking for somewhere to get really good affordable art supplies, you really should check out The Works. I think you'll love it. And this is a little box I've had since I was about 12 years old or something. I went through a phase when I was little where I would make all like the birthday cards, anniversary cards, all that kind of stuff. And I won this box. I can't remember how I won it. I think I entered some kind of drawing competition and I won. And I just really liked it because you've got all these neat little slots, and I still do make birthday cards and stuff like that, but I don't get the chance to do it as often anymore because obviously then I had more time and now it's not so much the case. But I still keep this because it's just nice to send someone a card, especially one that you've made, because it looks like you've put a lot more effort in it and you really care. So yeah, this is my cards box. Okay, so in drawer number 1 I've got my pro markers, and I got all of these while I was studying at uni, and I got these on eBay actually because I remember looking in Hobbycraft, and I also looked in WH Smith, and they cost about £20 for 4 pens, and it worked out that if you wanted to get anywhere remotely near a decent range of colours, you could easily spend about £200–300, and obviously that wasn't something I had an excessive amount of. And I looked on eBay and I found you could get the entire set for £80, so I thought, that's crazy, just get it. As you can see, I think I have every single colour and they're a lifesaver. I really love using these. There was a sketch I put on my Instagram not too long ago, and they're just so nice to use. I absolutely love these. I was absolutely obsessed with felt tip pens when I was little, and these are just like felt tip pens but for grown-ups and a lot more pigmented, and they're really good. I really love these things. I think I need to get a few more backups of the black pen because I'm always using it, and you can get these kind of extension caps that you can get on the end. I'll show you if I can get it off. You can take, this is what the end normally comes like, but you can get these little caps that you pop on top, and they just slot down like this, and then if you want to do something really fine and detailed, you can. So these are all my pro markers. In here, this is my bits and bobs drawer. I've got my airbrush compressor. I've also got some spare sponges. I still haven't finished the first set, but I like having backups of things that I use a lot because I hate it when you finish and typically you're halfway through a painting or a drawing and you really need this and you realise you don't have any more left, and that's infuriating. So I've got backups of these. I've got some vinyl gloves. You never know when you're going to need these, and there's some paints that I'm really badly allergic to. Sometimes when I'm working with, there's a varnish I use, which I don't know what it's got in there, but my hands just blow up to the size of golf balls. I remember getting like a kind of smudge on my hand, and literally my whole hand swelled up. These I collected during Christmas. Everyone was eating Quality Streets and I was just grabbing the wrappers, because you never know when you're going to need something like this, and I think I'm going to be using these in a masquerade mask tutorial, so I always keep stuff like this because you never know when it's going to come in handy. These I got, I was going to do a tutorial around Christmas for these Christmas baubles my family always makes for Christmas decorations, and I never got around to doing it, but I'm going to see if I can do it this Christmas coming up because they look really pretty once you decorate them. And in here I've just got some plaster bandages. Anyone who's seen my face cast, well, it's not my face cast tutorial, but the face cast tutorial that I got Stuart Bray to show how to make them. He used plaster bandages, and I need to, I'm going to be using these in a few craft tutorials, so I've got a few here. And this is just an empty drawer. For the moment it just keeps palettes, so yeah, there's nothing really in this one. And in here I've just got things like tape, modelling paste and thinner. And a pot of PVA glue, so I've got all my different kind of sellotapes. Modelling clay, if you haven't used this stuff, well, sorry, not modelling clay, modelling paste. This stuff's amazing. If you like doing paintings where they look almost sculptural, because what I used to like to do with acrylic paints is I used to really like layering them quite thickly, so that they looked almost a bit like they were a sculpture and they had this really interesting texture. But I got these because you can add it to the acrylic paint and it won't chip off and flake off once it dries, which is quite annoying, especially if you spent a lot of time building up the acrylic paint and then it just snaps off once it gets dry. So I have some modelling paste. In here I've got some wall filler. You've seen me use this in my disco jar and the seashells jar that I made. So that's where I keep all the spare stuff like this. In here I keep my acrylic paints, and as you can see I go through acrylic quite a lot. If you've seen my dragon painting, my Beauty and the Beast painting, these are the size tubes that I use, because anything like this you're just going to get through in 5 minutes if you do paintings that size. And as you can see I need to buy another yellow paint, which is getting quite urgent really. I've always got 2 tubes of black paint, 2 tubes of white, 2 tubes of brown, because those are the colours that I go through quite a lot. I've got another tube of white paint somewhere, but I don't know where it is. So this is just my acrylic drawer, and I get these from the Works, and as you can see I've still got the price tags on them. So yeah, check the Works out, because I think you'll really like it. This is one of my favourite drawers. This is where I keep all my inks. I've got a lot of my inks are from Winsor & Newton, and a lot of people are going to think, oh man, those are expensive. Yes, they are, but only if you go to the wrong places. If you get them from places like WH Smith when they're full price, they're going to cost a fortune. But I got the majority of these off eBay, and I got them in sales from WH Smith. All these, which is about 13, I think I got about 13 colours from WH Smith. I got it in the sales, and I got it for about £12. And when you consider that you normally pay about £5, £5 per bottle, that's a huge saving. And normally I get things like this off eBay, sales. I've always got my eyes on the sales rack because you save yourself an absolute fortune doing things that way. And these, I saw them in Hobbycraft, and I use these for my airbrush. I normally use inks and acrylic inks for my airbrush. I don't like watering down thicker paints because it always clogs up my brush. It's probably me doing something wrong, but I just prefer these. They're just so much easier to use, and they're perfect for the airbrush, and since I use the airbrush quite a lot, I'd rather invest in paints which I know aren't going to clog it up and work well with it, rather than taking 20 minutes to mix a paint and then realise it's still clogged up your brush. I think I got every single one of these colours off eBay. I think this is the only exception. I got this one in Hobbycraft, but it was on sale, and I think I got it for about £1.50, £2, so not exactly insanely expensive compared to the normal price. As you can probably see, I've got some Chinese calligraphy inks, and I was completely obsessed with Chinese and Japanese art when I was little. So I've got a lot of brushes and paints and things like that, and I've got so many different books on Japanese and Chinese art. And this is masking fluid, which is pretty much just liquid latex. But what masking fluid is that, let's say you want to paint a huge area and you want to use something like an airbrush. But an airbrush can be very messy. So if you want to cover an area from getting paint on it, you use something like masking fluid. You paint it with the masking fluid, you paint over that area, and then you just peel it off, and then obviously wherever this has been, it hasn't been painted. And it's a really neat little trick, and I don't use it anywhere near enough. These are pastel pencils, and I think I got these for my 18th birthday or something like that. Yeah, I love this little set. I don't really use them anywhere near enough because I'm not very good with pastels. Pastels aren't my favourite medium. My favourite medium by far is acrylics, watercolours and pencil and charcoal. Those are the kind of 4 things I absolutely love using, as well as pro markers. And pastels, it's not my medium. I don't like it as much. Any of you who've seen my New Year's resolution know that I'm trying to do more art stuff. And I'm trying to use up things like my oil paints and my pastels, and hopefully this year I'll make more of a chip into this set. This I've just got because my wall, because the plaster in this flat is really bad, and even if you put something like blue tack on the wall, if you take the blue tack off, it tends to bring the plaster with it. And I didn't know this when I first moved in, obviously, and so I put up a few drawings and a few paintings on the wall, and then when I took them off a few months ago I was like, uh-oh, so I had to kind of replaster that area, and I've just got a spare little pot like this because sometimes you just knock the wall and the paint will chip off, so I just keep a little pot here so that I can just repaint it instantly. It's not really art related, but kind of. In here I keep my blending tools, and I use these for blending a lot. These are typically used for modelling, but I don't like using them for modelling. I prefer to use these for drawing. For example, this drawing that I finished a few days ago, I was doing a drawing of sloth, and for little details like around the eyes, sometimes the hair, or maybe let's say the spider, obviously you can't smudge that with your hand, but if you use something like a clay shaper, hang on, and little things like here, like these little details, it's very hard to get that kind of smudged thing with your hands, and so I like to use paper stubs. Clay shapers are my favourite, and these are really good. You might think, wow, that's huge, but when I'm working on something like the huge background paintings that I sometimes do, you need to mix quite large quantities of paint, so these are perfect for that. And then for smaller quantities I've got smaller ones. Here I've got the jar that I made, this is my disco jar. I've got a tutorial how to do this, so I'll link that down in the description box. And in here I just keep all my pencils. I used to keep them in a little box in one of these drawers, but I don't like doing that because what tended to happen is they just didn't get used, and that really annoys me. I don't like having stuff that I don't use, so I put them in a jar and they get a lot more use now. This is drawer number 1. And in here I just keep kind of rags and tissues and stuff like that for paint, and as you can see these have gotten quite used, and I just keep that and a few bits and bobs in here. In here I keep all my clay. I've got my terracotta clay, and all these I get from the works. As you can see, they don't cost too much, and I've got the terracotta clay and then just the white clay, which I'm going to be using in a few tutorials coming up. And here I've got a paper clay that I was testing out, and I don't have that much left. And this one was a bit of a disappointment. I was hoping I could use it for a masquerade mask, but it wasn't really any good for the masquerade mask, and it cracked really easily, even when it was quite wet, and it was just too flimsy and I didn't like it. But I'm going to try and find a use for this because I don't like chucking stuff, it really annoys me. And in here I keep all my cards. Yeah, these are from Christmas. Someone had a few of those, what's the name of those chocolates? Ferrero Rocher, I think that's what they're called. Around Christmas there were a few of these, and so what I was doing is I was just collecting them because it's something that I always know I'm going to need in a tutorial at some point, so I always keep little things like this. And in here, this is where I've just got things like my blank cards. So you can, I can't remember, I got these years ago. I think I was given these when I was about 14, and I was given about 8 sets of these, and I've only got 1 left, so it got quite a bit of use out of it. But there's still these which I still need to use. And I'm hoping to just have a weekend at some point where I'm like, okay, that's it, enough work, just sit down and just fill these up, and then whenever anyone has a birthday I can send them a really nice hand-painted card. But this is just where I keep all my card bits and bobs.